Man, oh man, I always knew Terence Crawford was gonna reconsider, and I actually made a video for him to reconsider. Well, it's been about 10 days since Terence Crawford rejected 2 mega showdown fights against Conor McGregor from the UFC. Now, each fight was gonna be worth $100 million, equaling for both fights to be $200 million for both. Well, he said that he did not want to fight Conor McGregor for that type of money. Now that's a lot of coin. I always kind of knew Terence Crawford was going to reconsider, because that's a lot of money for anybody, for any sport, for any situation. And it will be dumb for somebody to say no to that type of coin. Well, let's talk about this, because Terence Crawford is a boxer and he's at the tail end of his career. And Conor McGregor, I believe he was already retired, but do not quote me on that, because I am not a UFC fan. And the last time I seen Conor McGregor fight was against Floyd Mayweather, and I really didn't like the fight. I mean, it was kind of competitive, but I thought Floyd Mayweather kind of let Conor McGregor, or carried Conor McGregor in that fight. Because just today, Terence Crawford dropped a video of him being in an MMA ring or UFC ring. I really don't care, because I am not an MMA fan. I really don't even like the sport, to be real. No offense to the people that do like the sport, I just don't like it. And it did get a little bit better, because I was actually at a gym watching it. That's the only reason I watched it. And they weren't really going to the ground a lot. They were actually standing. I think they changed the rules, but because those rules were bad back in the day, I never became a UFC fan, because I really don't like the hugging. Maybe Devin Haney could do a great job in the UFC, because I know he used to hug a lot. But sorry, champs, I digress. To my point. Well, Terence Crawford did drop that video, and he was in the UFC training with all the other fighters. He was not actually fighting the other fighters, but he did have his shirt off, and it looked like he was sweating and doing some type of workout. And he actually called out Conor McGregor. He says that let's try to make this fight happen, and I believe they should, and it's going to be an entertaining fight. And I want to watch it only because one of the fights is going to be in the boxing ring, and I'm obviously going to watch it because the UFC one, because you know, they just fought in the boxing ring, and then they're gonna fight in the UFC ring. So I want to see which one's gonna be first, though. I hope it's the boxing one first, and it's gonna be a great event. And I'm sure everybody knows how the fights are gonna be played out. First, okay, Terence Crawford is gonna toy with Conor McGregor in the boxing ring, but then Conor McGregor is gonna toy with Terence Crawford in the UFC ring. It's like apples to oranges. They don't mix, and it's not the same, you know. So Terence Crawford is gonna beat up Conor McGregor in boxing, and Conor McGregor is gonna beat up Terence Crawford in the UFC. And if somebody else beats him in their own respective sport, kudos to them. I already know how they're kind of gonna sell the boxing event. They're gonna say that Conor McGregor did very well against Floyd Mayweather. That was back in the day, and he did do okay against Floyd Mayweather, but I believe Floyd Mayweather carried him for the event to be like nice and everybody get their money's worth. So I really believe that happened like that. So I think they're gonna be like, well, Conor McGregor already has a lot more experience in boxing. It could be a little bit harder for Terence Crawford, since Terence Crawford is not in the level of Floyd Mayweather. He's a great fighter, but no one's in the level of Floyd Mayweather. Let's just be real, not even Terence Crawford. The UFC event, I believe they could sell it like this. Well, Terence Crawford used to love to wrestle, and he was in a high level of wrestling back in the day. And I heard that Conor McGregor was not the best wrestler. So that goes like that. And I don't know how Terence Crawford became in a high level in wrestling, but it has something to do with like high school or college or somewhere local where he used to live in Omaha. I am not too sure on that. But I heard Conor McGregor does not, he sucks at wrestling. But I'm not too sure on that. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not a UFC fan or a Conor McGregor fan, because I don't like UFC. But I heard that he sucks sucks at wrestling. Every time a boxer tries to join the UFC or fight in the UFC, it doesn't go very well. And every time a UFC fighter tries to fight in boxing, it doesn't go very well either. Well, actually, Francis Ngannou did okay. I think he did the best on a crossover fight from anybody else. He actually dropped Tyson Fury, and this guy, this was his first boxing fight, and he did okay against Tyson Fury. But I believe Tyson Fury was not ready, and he wasn't training right to face Francis Ngannou because of the circumstances. But it's really mostly the UFC fighters that are trying to fight in boxing because that's where the money is at. They don't get paid very well, and it's hardly ever any boxers trying to fight in the UFC. I think the last time I recall that was Randy Couture versus James Toney, and the first thing that happened was Randy Couture just wrestled James Toney, and it was a no contest. I do not think they even threw one punch, and the fight was just taking place on the ground, and it was the most boring fight in the UFC history. But I do know Clarissa Shields recently went to the UFC and beat one of the UFC fighters. That was one of the times that I know a boxer beat a UFC fighter in the ring. But I mean, I really did not watch that fight. I really did not care for it. I'm not a UFC fan, that's why. And it was a girl fighting. I really want to see the men fighting. I mean, I like the girl fighting in boxing, but in the UFC, I was like, man, that fight is gonna suck. But hey guys, guess what? I ain't the biggest, I'm the bad.